And so I want to take this moment to invite our district attorney, Kevin Hayden, to come up and share a few words with us. I don't know if he has time for Q&A, but I think it's a nice segue from what we just talked about. I don't need to read your bio. You'll tell him all about yourself, right? All I know is that we go to the same church.
Amen. That may be why we end up talking about legacy a little bit. So, Mona Lisa, thank you. I love you. It's good to see you. It's good to be back at this. This is the 11th annual Mothers Against Violence Conference. It's good to be here. Thank you for Mothers for Justice and Equality, and Mona Lisa for all the work you do, for the entire team, all the work you do. You are simply incredible. And before I go any further, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Kevin Hayden. I'm the district attorney here in Suffolk County. So Suffolk County is responsible for Boston, Chelsea, Revere, and Winthrop. I think we have a number of who's from out of town here? Raise your hand. Good number of people. Good to see some men here too, right? It's not just mothers, right? Thank you, brother, for standing up and sharing. Thank you. Y'all did it to me last year, and you did it to me again this year. So I have a little prepared remarks. They're brief. That's good. But then y'all take me in a different direction, and I have to obey the Spirit when it leads me to say something else. So I have some comments that have nothing to do with what I wrote down here. So I'm going to do that first and then sort of go into it. And it was this, you from Brooklyn? You started it, and then other people, then after you started it, other conversations confirmed it. So I'm going to speak to that a little bit. I look forward to this every year, and as we come together, this has become a crucial gathering for women and men who are healing, listening, and advocating in the aftermath of tragic loss. I'm reminded of why this conference matters. This conference has created a sacred space for so many, and it allows women to know, and men, that they do not have to grieve in silence. I know you all have been talking about that, but can do so openly with others who become part of the same community. It's a community that you did not choose to join or necessarily want to be a part of it, but you are an essential part. A community that's hurting, yes, but also powerful, strong, and filled with purpose. This conference challenges you not to sit in grief, but to move through it, knowing that the destination is healing. It honors your story and celebrates your resilience. It honors your loved one's story and your loved one's resilience. It also inspires action. There are so many women, men, and organizations across the world who are supporting this community, advocating for justice, creating peace, restoring safety, and demanding that their loved ones are seen and heard. This conference is transformative, and it gives us all hope. We learn from one another, unify, and use the conversations, tools, and resources shared here to empower our communities that also need healing, justice, and love. This conference matters because of you. It matters because of those of you who have lost, your sons, your daughters, your family members, and it matters because we remember. It matters because this is deeply personal, and because so many people and communities have been and continue to be impacted by violence. We know that the work must continue, and that's why we're all here, and that's why Mothers Against Violence Conference matters. I hope over the next 2 days you all are going to have many more opportunities to share with one another, introduce yourselves to one another, love up on one another, and reflect on how we can all continue to support one another and do the work that needs to be done to end violence. And I truly believe that violence can be ended. In Boston, many years ago, there was this thing called the Boston Miracle, right? And during that Boston Miracle, there was a considerable period of time where no one under the age of 17 was shot or killed. I think it was 18 months or something like that. Don't get me to lie about the exact numbers. I don't remember. But it was coined the Boston Miracle. Miracles are temporary. Miracles happen in a moment, and they begin and they end. We didn't come for miracles. We came for deliverance. You're here for deliverance. You're here because you believe in it. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But we can end violence in our communities. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir when I say that. But that's ultimately what we're here for and why we gather in spaces like this to have these sorts of conversations. So God bless you all. That's sort of the prepared remarks. Now let me tell you where y'all took me again. You took me some places last year too. So and this is not just, I'm speaking to you, but this is for everybody in this room, because you talked about your son's legacy, and we've heard legacy mentioned about a dozen times after that, right? Your son's legacy is not pain and trauma. Your son's legacy is not turmoil and chaos. Your son's legacy is what he was to you, what he was to his friends, what he was to his community. None of our loved ones that we've lost, their legacy is not that. Their legacy is peace. Their legacy is prosperity. Our community is not about trauma. Our legacy is not trauma. Our legacy is not turmoil. It's about overcoming, right? We are survivors, but we're also overcomers. And that's our legacy. Now, that being said, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, there may be some times where we have to become a little bit more undignified than this, okay? Because that statistic about black and brown young men and women dying, the mass shootings that happen across this country that grab headlines and get press, unfortunately, all too often now in modern society, the people that are lost in mass shootings, whether it's at a nightclub or a school or anywhere else, is a drop in the bucket compared to the black and brown young men and women that are lost in our communities every single day. And we have to, for purpose of legacy, for purposes of continuing, for purposes of overcoming, be unapologetic about declaring that and pointing it out. Anyone who knows me knows that I believe very firmly in strict gun laws. Massachusetts has some of the strictest gun laws in the entire country. There's a direct correlation between that and the level of gun violence that we're experiencing here in Boston right now. In Massachusetts, we got the lowest homicide rate we've seen in over 67 years. I was sharing with someone the other day that I worked in the district attorney's office many, many years ago. Through September of this year, we have had 99 shootings total, 99 shootings in the city of Boston, some of which are homicides, some of which ended up being murders, some of which did not. People survived. 99 total. When I started in the DA's office, there were 99 homicides in a year, okay? People talk about how, are we lucky here in Boston? Is it the miracles of modern science? Is it the fact that people are leaving our communities? No one who are not leaving our communities. Is it the fact that we're leaving our communities? Is that why the numbers are down? It's none of that. There's a direct correlation between shootings and homicides. That's how we got to where we are. 99 shootings in an entire year versus 99 homicides in an entire year is a difference from where we were to where we've come. And where we've come and where we are is because of people like you. It's because of Mothers for Justice and Equality. It's because of conferences like this. It's because of our continued demand and insistence that our legacy, our true legacy, continues and carries forth, despite whatever may have happened along the way that tragically affected us. We're overcomers, and our legacy and our loved ones' legacy is about peace, joy, prosperity, and being together as community. So I'll end with that. It's really good to be here. I love you all. I do have time, depending on how much time we have, I can answer some questions if you want. I'm fine either way. Do we have time? Do people have questions? Yeah? All right. There's one all the way in the back there. Good, how are you? So, well, in Boston? Oh no, they're not even close to getting higher. So, not even close. So when I was a young assistant district attorney, the time I'm talking about is late 90s, early 2000s. Okay, so during that time in Boston, and quite frankly throughout the entire country, there was this thing going on called the war on drugs. Everyone, I think everyone in this room, I'm looking around, and say this with respect, but I think everyone here remembers the war on drugs, right? And young, yeah. So, yeah, young black men were yeah, yeah. So young black men at that time were getting shot and killed. They were gang involved. If they weren't getting shot and killed, they were going to jail. Other members of our community were getting drug addicted in massive and powerful ways and getting getting sentences for penny ante offenses. Right? The war on drugs was an absolute failure. Right? But during that time period, there were. At one point, I think there was 137 murders in the city of Boston. The year I'm talking about was around 99. That was in around 2000s, and I use that year as a comparison because through September this year, there's been 99 shootings total. Okay, our homicides last year, I think, was 26 the entire year. And I think we're pretty much in that same sort of lane right now, depending on how things go. It could be more, it could be less. Now, look, statistics matter to a certain extent, and obviously we engage in data-driven practices all the time. But one is one too many. 26 is 26 too many. That's what we were talking about earlier. We believe that violence can end. We believe there can be none. Anyone else? Any other questions?
I'm not too sure what it's called, but the district attorney's office has a fund, and it used to go like this. We know how you arrest people and you get all this illegal money and illegal drugs, and you put it into a fund. Can Mothers Justice and Equality qualify for receiving that type of funding?
Good question.
Good question.
It can, and it does. Right? Yes. So we take, and by the way, if you're in Massachusetts and in Boston or anywhere else, you talk to your legislatures, because what the legislature wants to do is take that money away from us and put it into a general fund. And with all due respect, they wouldn't know what to do with that money. So yes, we get the law enforcement jurisdictions, district attorney's offices, and police departments take ill-gotten gain, and that money is seized and forfeited, because if you got it illegally, you shouldn't have the right to keep it. By law, we take it, and then we repurpose it. We repurpose it for law enforcement use, we repurpose it in our office, and we repurpose it for what we call community reinvestment grants. So we give the money that we get from ill-gotten gain, and we funnel it back out into the community. And one of the things that we did recently, and this is in part answer to your question, but then I will tell you that that the answer is yes. One of the things that we did recently was we funneled a huge portion of that money into a program called Services Over Sentences. So if you know anything about, if you live in Boston, you know anything about Boston, we have an epidemic going on and similar epidemics going on across the country. For us, it's an area it's been called Mass and Cass. I don't necessarily like that name, but the area of Mass and Cass had a huge problem with drug possession, use, homelessness, all congregated in a certain area. We know that locking people up for drug offenses, for possessory offenses, is not the answer to solving that problem. It does not work. If anything, it creates greater cycles of trauma. It doesn't help get people sober. It doesn't help address underlying causes for why people get addicted in the first place. So we started a program, Services Over Sentences. If people come to court, because if your drug addiction drives you to court, we need to help you, and that does happen. If your drug addiction gets to the point where you are continually getting system involved, then we need to find a way to get you out of our system, not in our system. We don't need to sentence you, we need to give you services. So we've started a program called Services Over Sentences, and we funneled a significant amount of money into that. But we also have community reinvestment grants that we give out every year to organizations all across Suffolk County, and Mothers for Justice and Equality is one of them, and gets some of that. It's called asset forfeiture funding every single year. So far. One more? One more question.
You mentioned about statistics that you use for comparison as to how improvement is happening. My experience is 60 Minutes showed a show where the American enforcement were in Germany watching some of the policies they use that really reduces the amount of incarceration in that country. If you take inner city minority population, say here, and then you compare with, say, inner city minority groups in, say, Ghana, and you see how the huge difference. Does it occur that some countries may be poor, but they may have value systems, especially like we don't have access whatsoever to guns? Do you do such comparative studies or get reports on such studies to really see what they are doing right, even though they may not have as much money, what the social system is, the government policies are?
Yes, we do. And so I would say a couple things about that. First of all, when it comes to gun violence and gun-related crime, if you look across the world, there is always a direct correlation between the ability to access guns and gun violence. So you look at countries like Switzerland where gun violence rates are very low. It's nearly impossible. It's nearly, unless you are in the military in Switzerland, you're not going to get a gun. You're just not. Okay? There's a reason why their rates are so low. Okay? Here in Massachusetts, our gun violence rates are extraordinarily low. We also have some of the strictest gun laws in the entire country, right? So we definitely look at those statistics and that data across the world, across our states in the United States. But there's another important statistic that I think I need to point out, and I'm going to just point out very generally, because it would take too long to go into all the details. But the point is this: there is no direct correlation between incarcerating people and public safety. There is not. The reason I say that is because in this country there has been a created conversation, a myth that that's just in fact the case. That's how mass incarceration became what it is, right? If you want people to be safe, you have to take all the bad people and lock them all up. And when you do that and you mass incarcerate everybody, then communities will be safe. That's not true. And across the world, there are statistics that show that that's not true. And here in Massachusetts, we have proof that that's not true. Massachusetts currently has the lowest carceral footprint in the country, meaning Massachusetts incarcerates less people than anywhere else in the country. And yet, in Boston, we are the safest major city in the country. And yet, in Massachusetts, our violent crime rates and our total crime rates and statistics are measurably lower than anywhere else in the country, right? There's no direct correlation between incarceration and public safety. And part of the reason there's no direct correlation between incarceration and public safety is because things like this, conferences like this, community collaborations, fellowship with one another, law enforcement and community working together to comprehensively address violent crime and public safety in a way that makes sense and is fair and is balanced and can achieve criminal legal reform and hopefully get less. We have work to do when it comes to incarceration of black and brown men. That's clear. Those statistics are clear, right? We can do all those things and still ensure public safety at the same time without locking everybody up. All right? Thank you.